Hello, my name is AlessandRa Nicholson. I'm a former sterile processing technician and manager with 16 years in the industry that has transitioned out to being a small business owner. It is no small feat. But what I wanted to do today is come to the TCI page, the Candray Institute page, and talk to you a little bit about what sterile processing is for all of those folks that are new, that have never heard of this, just like I had never heard of this 16 years ago and are looking to get started. And I feel like the best way that I can give back as somebody that is no longer a full time hospital healthcare employee is to share my knowledge. So we're going to start off with just thank you, welcome. For those that are already following the page, I appreciate you. For those that are new, go ahead and click that subscribe button. You can do a like too. You know how the YouTube algorithm works. Um, my name is Alessandra. As I said, I have 16 years in the sterile processing field. I am certified in three areas with sterile processing. One is my basic CRCST, which is Certified Registered Central Service Technician. Then I also have a certified healthcare leader and then certified instrument specialist. So we'll talk a little bit about all three of those, but primarily this discussion is going to be about that foundational certification, which is your CRCST. All right. So the importance of sterile processing in the healthcare field could never be overstated. In the industry, we like to say that we're the heart of the hospital, but I like to think of us more like the brain or even a central nervous system. But the whole point of all of those analogies is just to say that it is extremely important. And that might be hard to believe for something that you probably never heard of. Go ahead and drop in the comments if you've ever heard of sterile processing before, or you work in the field or know somebody that works in the field. But primarily working in this industry, we're very accustomed to when we say what we do that nobody knows what we're talking about. So, what is sterile processing? Sterile processing is a field within the healthcare industry that is responsible for the cleaning and sterilization of surgical instrumentation, as well as the providing of those materials as stock. So, when you think about surgery, oftentimes when I talk to the layperson, they think that those instruments are disposable. Newsflash. Most of them are not. I would reckon a guess about 70%, maybe 80% of your surgical instruments are reusable. And although we do go through quite a bit of disposable material, surgical instruments isn't quite that. We are seeing that pick up in the industry, however, where there are more disposable surgical tools coming online. However, from a standpoint of feasibility, uh, stewardship, it's really just not economical to have individual instruments for every single patient that then just get thrown away in the trash. So, more often than not, the surgical tools that are used for any given procedure are going to be what we call reprocessed in the sterile processing department. And what is reprocessing? Well, it's going back to that original definition. We're going to clean it, we're going to check it for workability, we're going to wrap it or containerize it, and we're going to sterilize it. And the point of that sterilization and cleaning process is to rid that instrument of any of the we call bioburden, but bodily fluids of the patients that touched it previously, so that even though it is reusable, it is clean and pristine for every single patient every single time. That is the goal, and sometimes can be the problem, but it is the goal of every sterile processing department. So within the sterile processing department, there are multiple roles, just like any other hierarchical department inside of a corporate healthcare facility. We start out with technicians, and technicians can come in levels based on experience and certification in some places. And the general, I would say a tech one is somebody that is new to the field, has less than a year or two of experience, may or may not have a certification, and they're just really getting in and getting started with learning the instrumentation, the processes, the communications between the departments, and getting their feet wet. A tech two would be somebody typically that I would say has at least a year or two of experience. Hopefully, has a certification at that point, and it's more depth. These are people that you could leave in the department, and they know how to run the machines on their own. They know how to deal with the OR on their own. They can troubleshoot on their own. They're very adept. And then Lastly, often places will have what they call a tech three or a lead tech, and it's a little bit what it sounds like. You're the leader. You're not a supervisor, if you will, but you are the lead of your shift. So you're the person that's the key point person that's helping to keep the operations flowing, keeping your mind on multiple tasks at the same time. So where a tech one or a tech two may be in one assignment for the day, a lead tech would be more likely to do what we call floating, which is to move between all the various assignments and make sure that everything is flowing in a way that's going to keep the OR going. Because the number one thing you never want to do in that sterile processing field is stop that OR. So, looking at those roles and definitions within Tech 1, Tech 2, Tech 3, you'll have in some places what we call assignments. So, this is a big job. I mean, even the few little things that I've mentioned, cleaning, prep, and sterilization, are three different categories. So, those might be your assignments for the day. You may be a certified technician that on Monday you're in the sterilization area, and on Tuesday you're in the decontamination area, and on Wednesday you're in the prep and pack area, and Thursday, maybe you're floating between the sterile processing department and the OR. So there may be various assignments that come with your role. And as technology comes further and further into the sterile processing department, because we are just like everybody else, AI and computers are changing the way that we do everything. As more of that comes online, we're starting to see other roles pop up around the IT space of keeping tracking systems up and running or installing them. It's a big to do. Also, with quality metrics, having people in the department that are there to do what they call QAs or quality audits, which is opening up a package that was meant for a patient and checking to see, did we hit all of our deliverables? Was this thing clean? Was it processed properly? Was it sterilized properly? Would it have been safe for it to make it to the operating room? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, what are the things that we're doing that makes this successful? And if the answer to those things are no, what can we do to change our process to make these things successful? So within the sterile processing technician space, there's various activity. And that's one of the things that I did like about it was that even though you are coming to the same place and doing the same work, if you will, every day, you could be doing it a little bit differently every day. And it's more engaging to me. I know some people might find that a little off putting. And that's why I wanted to do this so that you kind of get an idea of what it's like and if it's something that you're interested in. And also if you're in it, is it something that you might want to change roles within? You know, are you a tech one, tech two that has been looking at that lead tech role and just kind of wondering if maybe you should take it? Or are you a lead tech that sees a supervisor position come open and wondering if you're ready to take that leap? The Candray Institute wants to be there to support you to make those type of decisions. Other roles within the sterile processing space would go into the management category. So we have what I was just speaking on, supervisors, managers, but there's also quality educators, quality managers, educators that are separate. And I say those in three different categories because in my mind, they're three different jobs. When you have somebody that's completely dedicated to education, oftentimes what I'm seeing is that they're responsible for making sure that everybody in their sterile processing department is competent and trained and signed off on the important tasks that they're going to be doing during the day. Somebody that's responsible only for quality wouldn't necessarily be responsible for education, but they may be a person that's going to inform the SPD manager about what type of education is required because they're seeing where the process failures are taking place when they're doing those quality audits. And then somebody that's responsible for both quality and education will be taking that information and using it to develop the education that they want to see for their department. So it can be three kind of different experiences, but they are coming online more and more often, and I'm seeing them mixed in different ways in the sterile processing industry. And then lastly, in that supervisor manager escalation, we also typically see directors in our larger facilities where you'll have a director that's responsible for setting the tone, maybe for multiple sterile processing departments under one umbrella or region wide, helping to do some of the same work. So there's quite a bit of trajectory. And it's why I highlight the fact that you can go in this field, you can go from entry level into management without necessarily the same hoops that we see in other healthcare departments. So, and I will say though that that is changing over time. But right now, sterile processing is still a space where you can get your certification and get your experience and move up without an associate's or a bachelor's degree. Now, I will add, as I said earlier, that is changing. So I like to really talk about my entry level technicians thinking forward about what it is they would like to see themselves doing in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Because getting into the healthcare space through sterile processing allows you access to healthcare benefits, which includes things like tuition reimbursement. And you can use that towards your education. And typically in those policies, they're going to say that they want that education to be something that you can use in the healthcare sphere. But I got news for you. Healthcare is a huge industry, and I would have a hard time trying to guess a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree that you could gain that you would not be able to use in the healthcare space. Okay, so key responsibilities of SPD technicians. We've touched on this a little bit as far as daily tasks, that decontamination, prep and pack, sterilization, assembly, which is that more prep and pack, and distribution. But again, each one of these areas can be its own level of expertise. If you're not new to the industry, you may know that materials management or distribution used to be a part of sterile processing. For a lot of hospitals, they were dual because the way it was seen was sterile processing will take those instruments from the OR and create a package or of something that can be inventoried in other places. So maybe I make up a bunch of kits that can be used to take out stitches in the ER, right? Now I have a product that I'm going to go put on the shelf in the ER for them to pull anytime they have someone come in that needs their stitches removed. And it's something that they're going to need to restock. So they might call me and say, hey, normally we have 10 of those kits down here, but it's been a crazy day for stitch removal. We need 10 more, please. So it used to kind of coincide. And some places have really separated that out, but others I'm starting to see are bringing it back. So those concepts of inventory management are also there. And I think for people that are more into how processes work, that's a space where you can really utilize your skills from one industry and transfer them over into another. Something else I really like about sterile processing. And then the most important thing, though, regardless of what assignment you're working, what position you're in, the main thing to remember about sterile processing is that your role is to ensure that surgical patients, and these are going to be surgical patients in the clinics, these are going to be surgical places and spaces in the OR. Your main job is to stop the transfer of hospital acquired infections, to stop the transfer of any type of illness that can be classified as an infection. Your job is to remove that from those surgical instruments and render it clean and sterile so that the next patient is not inheriting anything that does not belong to them. That is the bottom line of your function and form. Even when you get down to things like storage and distribution, your focus is still going to be, how do I maintain sterility and cleanliness of this package so that I am consistently interrupting the chain of infection within this hospital setting or within this surgery center setting or within this clinic setting. Because if you think about it, as a patient coming in, we do sterile processes in almost every type of healthcare environment. So that's why I say this can be almost like a nervous system job, because you're not supplying for just one area of the hospital. You might be supplying for multiple. Okay, so what are career pathways? Where's the money, Alessandra? We have those entry level roles, right? So we talked about being a technician and coming in entry level with no experience, no certification. Something you can do to advance yourself or make yourself more appetizing to a hiring manager is to try to find some place you can get some experience, right? It's one of those catch 22s. How am I supposed to get the experience if you don't hire me? But if you don't hire me, right? So some of the things that we can do from the outside coming in is to gain certification, because that's something that you can do with no experience. So entry level roles in sterile processing as technician ones or twos oftentimes will have a stipulation of 0 to at least a year of experience and a preference for a certification. So when you're able to in a job application meet the preferences, it's putting you a step above some of the other applicants. So that's something you can do to help you secure that position. But once you're in there, once you've secured yourself, how are you going to advance yourself? One of the easiest ways is to continue on with that certification path. So when you gain your CRCST or your CBSPD, because we do get those certifications from two different entities, you're able to take on additional education. Remember in the beginning, I told you I have three: the CRCST, the CHL, and a CIS. So let's talk about what the process was to gain all three of those. For the CRCST, I was a self study student. I actually had the benefit of living in a rural area that had zero requirements for entry level sterile processing technicians because they did all on the job training. And we're starting to see this expand to the bigger areas where now hospitals are offering classes and training programs through those education and quality departments and bringing people in. But 16 years ago, this is just what the way it was, the way it had to be. Okay. We didn't have a lot of sterile processing schools in this area. We still don't. That's why I opened up the Candray Institute. Okay. So I was able to self study, and that's something that you can do whether you're in the field or not. You can also take a sterile processing class near you or online. The world is now your oyster. Okay. So either way you go, it's going to be the same exam. When you get ready to test with either CBSPD or CRCST, you're going to fill out an application with them to let them know that you have studied and you're ready to go. They will send you access to how you register to take your exam, and you will take your test and gain your foundational certification. Your CRCST or your CBSPD is something that you have to have before you go on to gain a CHL or a CIS. However, there is a fourth certification that you can gain independent of your CBSPD, CRCST, or any other additional certifications, and that is of a CER or a Certified Endoscope Reprocessing Technician. The endoscope reprocessing, when you think about things like gastroscopes or when you think about things like colonoscopes, for the guys, I'm going to go get your colonoscope. Those technicians are sterile processing technicians because they are cleaning and sterilizing surgical instrumentation. However, they are doing so with a specialized surgical instrument that is very complex to clean and somewhat complex to sterilize. And so there's additional education for them that is separate from the rest of surgical instrumentation reprocessing, if you will. So that's one that you can gain separately. The other two, you do have to get that foundational certification before you move on and gain your CIS and your CHL. I highly encourage anybody that has a CRCST or a CBSPD that you should, at the very minimum, maintain a certified instrument specialist certification. And the reason why I say that is because after you complete your first year as a sterile processing technician, you now have the surgical instrumentation knowledge to be a certified instrument specialist. So if you have the knowledge, take the test, get the piece of paper. It's going to always help to set you apart in any type of hiring situation because you are now dual certified. Okay. Oftentimes, we're starting to see the CIS and the CHL and the CER become requirements for higher level positions, depending on what they are. So, for instance, in some spaces, to be a lead tech or to be a supervisor or a manager, they're going to want to have a preference for somebody that went ahead and took that certified healthcare leadership exam. Makes sense, right? If I have a pool of applicants and all of them are certified central service technicians, but one of them has gone ahead and got this additional education on healthcare leadership, and I'm looking for a leader, why you kind of look like a leader. So it's within, I think, everybody's interest to consider maintaining at least two certifications. Okay. So, entry level to expert, what does that look like? I talk often about the fact that my position was entry level and I started off at $7.25 an hour. My God. But when I left my career, the highest that I had made as a manager was $122,000 a year. Something that when I was making $7.25 an hour as a technician one, it never even occurred to me that it would be possible that within 5 to 6 years of my career, I would double my income multiple times. Had I known that up front, I probably would have got that certification much earlier. I worked in the field for 5 years before I became certified. How do you get your sterile? How to get sterile processing? Excuse me, I'm reading my notes. How to get started in the sterile processing field. So we've touched on this a little bit. Education and training requirements are going to vary from facility to facility. So the best thing I think for you to do to first get started, if it's something that you're even a little bit interested in, is to go onto a job recruiting website like Monster or Indeed and type in sterile processing technician or supervisor, whatever position you're looking for, and start to look at the requirements for the job. When I train at high schools, this is one of my key tips for them to kind of reverse roadmap your way to where you want to be. If you know that this is something that you think you want to do, look at the job, look at the requirements, look at the day-to-day expectations, and try to get a gauge of if it's something you think you could do or something you want to learn how to do. And then if the answer is yes, scroll on down to those preferences and requirements and start to see what it is that they want from you. Because then you can start to take those things and break them down into steps that help you get to where you want to go. So maybe you scroll down to the bottom of that SPD supervisor position and it says that they want you to have 3 years of experience and a certification. Well, here you are looking at it and you're on year two. You've got your certification. You need one more year of experience to really meet their requirements. But what's something that you can do to help set yourself apart in this moment? Maybe if I add the fact that I have a CHL, they might be interested in looking at me, even though I don't fully meet the requirements. You will be surprised how many people will maneuver themselves out of an opportunity for success because they don't think that they have what it takes. I always say, click that button. When Indeed asks you, do you want to apply anyway? Click yes. Okay. We talked about the certification process, but I do want to talk a little bit about resources for exam preparation. So, right now, a lot of the work that I've been doing as far as coaching individuals has been in really two very separate camps. One camp is supervisors and managers, mostly managers, excuse me, that are looking to increase their income and reps, and that want to take their skills and diversify them into a different position. Do a lot of coaching, especially around confidence with that. Because what I find is oftentimes when people are ready to make that leap, they will kind of talk themselves out of being ready to take that leap. And so I will come in as a career coach to help you really stabilize yourself and understand what it is that you have to offer, help you negotiate when you get ready to do your next steps, and really value yourself in the space that you're in. And I'm very proud to say that I have quite a few folks over my lifetime that have gone on to make 20, 30, $40,000 more than what they were making before they started coaching with me. I can't, like, I literally, you see my smile. I can't tell you how much love is involved in that for me, how happy that makes me. Because in this industry, I often feel like with it being entry level, you'll see that most of the people that come into this space are people that are coming from a place of poverty, people that are coming from places of trauma, people that are very resilient and they're willing to do what it takes to make sure that they get to the next level, but they have not had a silver spoon. So to be able to take somebody that's used to making $7, $15, even $30 an hour and to help them expand themselves, I thank God every day for the gift and the opportunity to do that. It's one of my favorite things. So I coach that group. And then the other group that I spend a lot of time coaching are the self studiers, the people that have got the books. They're trying to figure this thing out. They don't necessarily have access to a school, or maybe they can't afford the school, but they're going to do what they need to do in order to take this test. They are oftentimes also people that are already working in the field, that have been there for some time and don't want to lose their spots to people that are coming in with fresh education, coming in with a bachelor's degree and coming in with a CRCST. And even though maybe I've been there for 15 years, I'm now not able to compete in my own industry. What can I do? How can I advance myself? Love to coach those folks. Love to move them people up. Okay. So I know I've said it over and over. I don't want to beat a dead horse, if you will, but education and experience are the key things that are going to drive you through this sterile processing career path. So where you might not have one, don't you fret. Go after the other one, because especially when it comes to time in, the time is the time. Okay, 16 years. Do you think when I started day one of sterile processing that I thought that I was gonna still be there 16 years? No. The time is the time. It will come, it will go. Your opportunity to advance yourself is what is within your wheelhouse of control. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to certification is continuing education. It is a requirement. So when you get that CRCST, CBSPD, CHL, CIS, CER, every single one of them is going to require that throughout the year you maintain continuing education. Why, you may ask? Because this field changes all the time. This is a science-based field. When we're talking about cleaning and disinfection and sterilization, we are talking about microbial life, my love. And that information is going to change. New information is going to come out. Research studies are going to be done. Outbreaks are going to take place, and we're going to be consistently changing the way that we do everything. So it is important for you to understand that you choosing to get your certification is not a one-time deal. You will then be expected to maintain your understanding, your expertise in that area by demonstrating that you are continually getting education in this space. Now, there's paperwork that you'll fill out to, prove that you completed that, and those hours will get attached to your certification, and you'll be renewed from there. If you choose not to renew on time, they do have a little bit of a grace period to allow you to get those things in. But if you do let that lapse, if you let that certification time period lapse, you will have to retest, you will have to recertify. All right. So, working in this field, challenges, rewards, what do they look like? Common challenges in the SPD field are the workload. It is busy. This is surgery, and it can be very fast paced. It can be stressful. Also, the immense amount of attention to detail. This is not a slacker offer type of experience. Okay, so think about this. We're talking about hundreds of surgical instruments that are being used on patients every day, that need to be cleaned individually, need to be inspected individually, and need to be collected in kits that are discernible to the OR. So it's not just, I grab a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and throw it in a pan. They're what we call recipes or set lists that will tell you, okay, for me to use this major tray or for me to use this total knee tray, I need XYZ. And you have to make sure that XYZ is there and that it's all in working order, that you've picked up each and every one of those pieces and examined it for its cleanliness and its workability. If it says that it's a bone punch, well, does it cut through bone? Because if it doesn't, then your surgeon is not going to be able to use it as a bone punch. So they're counting on you to check those things for them and make sure that they're ready to go, because at the point of surgery, it's not the time to do that. Yes. So attention to detail is a must. And then lastly, teamwork. Your teamwork can be a challenge and a reward, because a well-working team is a safe working team is going to ensure that that work environment is healthy and happy for the technicians, and that they are producing a safe and sound product for their operating room. Teamwork, or lack thereof, can be the detriment of department. If you have a group of people that don't want to talk to each other, or don't want to follow the rules, or everybody wants to do something different, it can quickly become a madhouse. Mhm. Quickly. So that's something you might run into, and I don't think that that's unique to the sterile processing field, but it's just something for you to be aware of. Benefits of the profession, though: job security. We're looking at a position where, minus the pandemic, and I'm telling you, it shook up the healthcare world for this reason right here. We always considered it to be job stability. You know, hospitals don't close. They don't go away. We don't have 9 to 5 hours. We're 24/7 type of operation. So you can very much count on the fact that as long as an operating room is open, a sterile processing technician is going to be required. That also means that nationwide and honestly worldwide, because that CRCST is a international certification, worldwide your skills are needed. So it really doesn't get better than that as far as demand and supply is concerned. There are a lot of growth opportunities, and that's what this entry level to expert experience is about. Is about what can you do once you get your foot in the door and you become a tech one. I want you already thinking about where you want to go. I want you already collecting the bag somewhere else. Okay, whether that looks like becoming a travel technician, whether that looks like becoming a third party in some type of way, maybe becoming a rep and shopping surgical instruments or products, or even now software programs, things of that nature. It can look like a lot of things. It can even look like becoming an independent entrepreneur like myself and taking the experience that you have in the field and offering something of value to the community that you serve. Then, lastly, and the most important one to me, is as a benefit, is your ability to safely know that you are contributing to patient safety at every time. As I say this often, so maybe I haven't said this to you guys yet, but if you listen to this page, you'll probably hear it a million times. Your sole responsibility is to keep your patient safe. And notice how I say your, because even though you will likely never meet these people, they are counting on you. Even though they don't know who you are, they are counting on you, and they're counting on you at one of the most vulnerable times of their life. I can't honestly even think of a time you get more vulnerable than when you get naked as God and go to sleep and allow a group of humans to take care of you and your body from the inside out. It literally doesn't get more vulnerable than that. So your ability to pay attention to detail, your ability to adhere to policies and procedures, your ability to not be swayed by the laziness or the procreate or the procrastination of other technicians, your ability to stay steadfast in your dedication to sterile and clean instruments for your patients is a benefit and a reward in my mind. All right, so what's the future of sterile processing look like? Where are we going? How what's coming up? I've talked about this a little bit throughout this session, so I won't harp on it too much, but just to say that AI and technology is sweeping into the sterile processing industry just like every other place. So if you're inclined in that way, I think there's some exciting opportunities that are going to start to come up. We're starting to see more positions be built around technology inside of the sterile processing department, whether it's helping people to onboard tracking systems, instrument tracking systems, or whether or to run them, to do reports out of them, to keep them up, keep them updated, to to introduce inventory into them, to track things that are going out for repair, stuff of that nature. But also within the sterile processing space itself, we're seeing, where it used to be you would go into a decontam room and the only thing that was technology in there was the radio. Now, when you come in, you might see multiple computer screens over sinks where I'm scanning barcodes on instrument trays, or I'm able to look up IFUs at the site, or I'm able to watch videos on how to disassemble. It's very much becoming its own version of a spaceship. So the technology advancements are definitely happening, and we're seeing new products come out as well in the sterilization space that are helping us to do our jobs better. So wraps are changing, locks are changing. You might not be familiar with these things because it is an entry level conversation, but the world's a growing place. Okay. And then in general, we're seeing an increased demand for certified technicians as healthcare standards increase. So as surgery becomes a more scrutinized place, as hospitals become, bigger and more specialized and get more specialized certifications and declarations, we're starting to see more and more sterile processing departments that want to hire certified technicians instead of just somebody that maybe has some experience but no certification, or somebody that doesn't have any experience at all. And like I said before, we're also seeing the space trend back towards training its own technicians, but it's not doing it the way that it used to do it, where, for me, it was when we were rare at the time. We had an educator at that time that was responsible for being with us on the floor, but that was one-on-one education. Anytime there was a new hire, the educator was with them one-on-one, and you had precepts, so you were learning from other technicians that were on the floors once you got away from the regular educator. Now we're starting to see more sterile processing programs be put in place, where it's essentially that you are a student at a school and you are training at the hospital in a separate environment. And um, before you're introduced to the sterile processing field altogether. And if you're interested in education, I think that that's something else that, because that is starting to expand, you're going to see an expansion in the education departments, where before maybe you had one educator, but now maybe that educator, has direct reports and there are precepts that work under them. You might start to see education directors come online that have whole teams that they're sweeping out throughout regional systems. You might start to see regional systems that are becoming educators for other regional systems. So, is the world is your oyster. There really is still a lot of frontier that can be conquered for somebody that is wanting to come in and really create an alternative type of career space for themselves. Okay. So it's been a little over 30 minutes. I didn't want to ramble too long. I really just wanted to give you a high level view of sterile processing, what it looks like to become a technician, what it looks like to move from entry level to expert, and talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I can offer you as a veteran in the field through the Candray Institute to really help you excel. So, what are some key takeaways? This is not a joke. This job is not a game. This is not a job for somebody that doesn't care about other people. And when I say that, I don't say that lightly. Or I won't say never, but you're very rarely will you ever meet your patients. Very rarely. So you have to have the level of empathy and compassion to be able to care for somebody that you don't know, like they're your own. We used to tell the technicians on the floor in my tech 1 tech 2 days that you needed to think about the patient as somebody that's close to you, as somebody you love. And I used to respond back when my managers would say that to me and say, I don't need to do that. I don't need to pretend that it's my mom. I don't need to pretend it's my best friend, my son, my daughter, my husband. I don't need to do that. As long as you tell me that there's another human down there that's counting on me, I got you. And I'm really, from the Candray Institute perspective, I'm only looking for people that can have that kind of attitude. It's something that we can educate you, we can get you certified. I can talk to you about contract negotiation, I can get you paid. I can't make you care. And I'm the type of person that, when people say what sets you apart, for the Candray Institute, I'm not interested in touching every single person that wants to come through the sterile processing field. Oh, no, no, no. I am looking for high integrity folks that want to advance themselves and are not willing to do it by hurting other people. Because it can easily be done. If I'm not paying attention to decontamination and assembly or sterilization, I can easily hurt somebody and I may never even face the consequences of that. It's it's that anonymous. It can be that anonymous. And I think, especially as we see technology advance, less and less of that'll be true. We'll finally be to a place where we can truly say, these are the technicians that touch that instrument, and these are the technicians that are responsible for the break in care. But until we get there, it can really be an anonymous space. So, coming into the Candray Institute, if you were to look at the coaching clients that I've had in the past, one thing that you will definitely be able to tell is I don't play around with nobody that plays around. Mm-mm. No, 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 no. When I'm helping you get 30, $40,000 more a year in your career, I'm not doing that just for anybody. No, no, no. You have to be somebody that I perceive is going to really advance this industry by being a pillar of integrity within it. We can go get you whatever position. We can get you paid, whatever. Like I said, I cannot make you care. And therefore, I do not deal with people that don't. Okay. Um, what else I want to say about? I think that's pretty much it right now. As far as the Candray Institute is concerned, we are offering in-person classes. If you're the type of person that prefers to learn in person, I am currently based at the Small Business Development Center in Carbondale, Illinois, where I'm offering classes. I also have a space in Marion, Illinois, where I can meet to offer classes as well. So if you're interested in becoming certified as a CRCST or a CIS or a CHL, you're more than welcome to reach out and discuss what it looks like to get some schedules, to schedule some classes for you. I also offer online classes as well to the same effort to get you certified. And right now, I would say the biggest thing that we offer is the one-on-one coaching. Is for you to be able to sit down with someone that has 16 years in the field and talk through what it is your goals are and how we can get you there. This week, I've met with folks that are self-studiers. I've met with folks that are in classes. I've met with folks that are looking to move up through the industry. You can be any of the places that I've ever been. I want to help you with the knowledge that I have, especially if you're like I said, somebody that doesn't need to be taught how to care. Okay. So next episode I'm gonna do for this series with TCI with the Candray Institute is a day in the life of a technician. So I'll talk to you about what it looked like for me when I clocked in as a Tech One to the time I clocked out. And then we're going to talk about that from the perspective of each of the roles that I've held. So, as a technician, what was my day in the life like? As a supervisor, as a manager, and as an educator. And if you guys are interested, you can drop in the comments and I'll talk to you about what the day in the life is post working full time in the healthcare and being an entrepreneur, because that has been a whole new experience. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, AlessandRa Nicholson at the Candray Institute. If you're interested, I encourage you to please like and follow and share this page, and also to find me on Facebook or TikTok and get scheduled for some time to talk. There's always going to be a million different folks you can work with in this industry, but I'm telling you, you're not going to find anybody that is more authentic and more honest with you about what the healthcare experience is like. My main goal and the reason why I started this business, the reason why I named it after Juan Candray, is because my concern is that we have healthy and balanced sterile processing technicians and healthcare professionals. What I experienced throughout my time was that with the stress of it, there can be a lot of burnout. There can be a lot of financial pitfalls and mistakes that get made. And, making 100K a year is a wonderful thing. But if you don't know how to manage it, you don't know what to do with it, you could quickly find yourself in the same position you were when you were making $15 an hour or $7 an hour, whatever the case may be. So I try to come in and do my best to close those gaps. I offer free consultations. They're 30-minute consultations. If you click the link to book, it'll schedule some time with me and we can chat. If you decide that you're interested in one-on-one coaching, I will do that tailored to your price point. As I said, I came from a rural area making $7.25 an hour. As a Tech One, if I wanted to invest in myself, there's no way I would have been able to do that if I was being required to pay hundreds of dollars for coaching. So I will meet you where you are. And my main goal is to expand you from where you are. So if you're interested in going from entry level to expert, or if you're already in that expert space and you want to know what you can do to set yourself apart and maybe build a new career path for you, reach out, schedule some time, and let's chat. All right. I will see you guys next time. Thank you for joining the Candray Institute.